You meet someone and it feels different this time. The connection is immediate, effortless. For a while, everything flows. Conversation feels natural. The distance between you seems to disappear. And then it fades. Not suddenly, but enough to notice. The intensity drops. The certainty weakens. So you reach the same conclusion again. Maybe this just wasn't the right person. Then you start to see the pattern. Every beginning feels strong. Every ending feels unclear. So you adjust. You look for someone more compatible, more stable, more aligned with what you think you need. But the result stays the same. A promising start, followed by the same loss of connection. What if the problem was never the person? What if what you've been calling love was never love to begin with? Most people treat love as something that happens to them, a feeling that appears, then disappears, something you find, lose, and search for again. That assumption turns every relationship into a transaction. You start measuring what you get back. And in that structure, something is missing. You never learn how to love. You only learn how to stop feeling alone. What you react to in a relationship is not just the other person. It's something that was already there before you met them. At the center of it is a simple fact: you are separate. Not just physically, but psychologically. You exist as an individual, unable to fully merge with anyone else. And once you become aware of that, something follows, a tension that doesn't go away. The sense that you are on your own. Most of the time, you don't notice it directly. It hides behind routine, distraction, and structure. But when it becomes visible, it doesn't feel like a thought. It feels like discomfort, restlessness, a need to escape. So you try to remove it, you stay busy, you follow patterns, you attach yourself to something. And when that isn't enough, you turn to another person. Not because you understand them, but because being close seems to remove the distance. And in the beginning, it works. The boundary feels thinner. The connection feels real. For a moment, the separation is gone. But it doesn't last. Because it was never solving the problem. It was covering it. What you felt was not love. It was the absence of isolation. And when that feeling fades, the same tension returns, the same distance, the same need to close the gap. So the pattern repeats, not because you chose it, but because you never saw what was driving it. If that's true, then the way you've been using relationships starts to break down. You've been treating a relationship as the answer to loneliness, as something that removes the discomfort of being alone. But if that's the role it plays, then the relationship stops being about the other person. It becomes about what they do for you, how they make you feel, how they reduce your tension, how they keep the discomfort from coming back. And once that happens, something changes. You're no longer relating to a person, you're relying on a function. They become how you regulate yourself, how you stay stable, how you avoid facing what's underneath. And that creates a fragile structure. Because the moment they fail to do that, the connection starts to break. Not because they changed, but because the role you gave them cannot be maintained. That's why the pattern repeats. Not with one person, but across different people. Because the structure never changed, so the question shifts. Not who should you choose, but something more basic. Can you be alone without trying to escape it? Not distracted, not occupied, not waiting, just alone. Because that changes the starting point. When you no longer need someone to remove your discomfort, you begin to see differently. You're not looking for relief anymore. You're able to see who is actually in front of you. And from there, something else becomes possible. A relationship that is not built to remove loneliness, but to meet another person as they are. Once you see the pattern, a different question appears. If that wasn't love, then what is? Up to this point, it felt like something that happened to you. You meet someone, you feel something, and when that feeling fades, you assume the love is gone. But that definition depends on something unstable: your state, your mood, your level of need, the intensity of the moment. Anything built on that will rise and fall with it. So the experience becomes inconsistent, sometimes strong, sometimes distant, sometimes gone. And you call all of that love. But love is not a reaction. It is a way of relating, something that can be practiced, something that can be sustained. It begins with care, not as a feeling, But as attention, you notice, you invest, you stay engaged. Then responsibility, not as pressure, but as response. You recognize what matters to the other person and act on it. Without respect, that turns into control. Respect is seeing the other person as they are, not as you need them to be. And that leads to knowledge, not familiarity, but understanding. An effort to see beyond your own assumptions. These are not techniques. They are capacities. And they don't come from intensity. They come from development, from becoming someone who can give instead of someone who is waiting to receive. That's the shift. Love stops being something you wait for and becomes something you generate. At this point, the pattern is clear, not because relationships changed, but because you can see what was driving them. It was never just about who you met or how compatible you were. It was about where you were starting from, whether you were trying to escape yourself or able to stand on your own. From one position, love becomes unstable. You look for someone to remove what you don't want to feel. And when they can't do that, the connection weakens, not because something went wrong, but because it was built on something that couldn't hold. From another position, the same experience changes. You're not searching for relief. You're not measuring what you get back. You're not trying to fix something inside yourself. So the relationship no longer carries that weight. And because of that, it can exist, not as a solution, but as something real. Which leads to a different understanding. Love is not something you find when the right person appears. It becomes possible when the way you exist changes. And once you see that, something shifts. You stop asking, who is right for me? And start asking something else. What kind of person am I when I try to love? And once you see that you don't experience love the same way again.